Okay, is everybody ready? Here it is, the 16th day of the federal shutdown, and over 500 miles away, our congressional representatives are still posturing and pontificating through another day of negotiations. Though it appears that there might finally be a breakthrough today, progress up until now has been elusive, and we all know why. Too many of our leaders in Washington are so insulated from the lives of real families that they don't understand the urgency of the moment. In all the talk about winning what they see as a political battle, they've lost track of the people that they serve. They don't understand that this isn't a theoretical debate or a mere inconvenience that some people will have to go through. Rather, its repercussions involve suffering, frustration, and despair. Today, I want to explain some of those repercussions and describe the potential impact of a prolonged federal shutdown on families here in Kentucky. It's important that everybody understands what's at stake and what harm awaits. Now, you might say, well, Governor, if they make a deal today, why do you need to talk about this? Well, frankly, because the deal that I'm hearing will be struck today is simply going to kick the can down the road for about 3 months. And if history is any indication, we could well be in the exact same spot in 3 months when the deadlines roll around as we are right now. So yes, the people in Kentucky need to know the impacts that a federal shutdown will have on them, and just as importantly, our representatives and senators in Washington, D.C. need to understand the impact on the people of this state. Now, the closing of federal parks and historical sites have gotten a lot of publicity and a lot of attention. But did you know that the federal shutdown has already blocked us from moving residents into the new Glasgow State Nursing Facility? This is a new facility. We built it to improve care for our aged and infirmed folks with behavioral disabilities. Everything is ready. The patients and their families are ready for the move from the old facility. The problem is, we can't get final license approval because federal offices have been closed. Likewise, some military veterans can't get benefits they need because the Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs can't access their information if the veterans aren't directly represented by the state office. Those are just two examples of what the shutdown has already meant. On the horizon are even bigger and more harmful impacts. Take the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, what most people call food stamps. Some 854,000 Kentuckians receive about $110 million a month in food assistance. Folks, that's 1 in 5 Kentuckians. At a time in their lives when they're struggling, this program has enabled them to have food to eat. But unless the shutdown ends, this program will run out of money by November 1, in just 2 weeks. A lot of our friends and neighbors and their children could go hungry. That's not alarmist, it's heartbreaking, and it's unconscionable. In a nation of plenty, in the wealthiest nation in the world, this should not happen. And it gets worse. Now, overall, some $8 billion in federal funds flow through state government in Kentucky every year. The good news is that much of this money goes to programs that are exempt from this shutdown. We're talking about things like Medicaid, unemployment insurance benefits, highway planning and construction, and school lunches. We're providing you with a list of those programs which are not affected by the shutdown. But unfortunately, about $75 million a month goes to programs that will be affected. We have a release that identifies about 50 of these programs that are at risk. Let me talk about some of them. In addition to the food stamp program that we've already discussed, some 61,000 Kentuckians participate in the federal Temporary Aid to Needy Families program to the tune of $15 million a month. Here in Kentucky, this includes what we call KTAP, and it provides short-term financial benefits to working adults or adult students to cover basic needs such as housing, utilities, clothing, food, and the like. About 130,000 pregnant mothers and young children in Kentucky are provided healthy food through WIC, the Program for Women, Infants, and Children. That's about $10 million a month. Some 304,000 Kentucky families receive help paying their heating bills through a program called LIHEAP, the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. That's $8 million a month. And folks, it's going to be getting cold out there soon. Some 40,000 Kentucky children are in subsidized daycare so their parents can work. That's $8 million a month. In addition, there are programs that provide immunizations, Social Security disability insurance, help for caregivers of vulnerable adults, tax credits for small businesses, substance abuse and mental health services, National Guard maintenance projects, and regulation of coal mining. All of these programs stand to run out of money come November 1, should the shutdown continue. In addition, we face the very real possibility of laying off some state workers whose salaries are paid with federal funds. Now, we may be able to use state funds to provide a temporary infusion of cash to some of these programs running for a few days past November 1. In the case of the food stamp program, because of its unique structure, that is not possible. And as to the other programs, our reserves are small and our cash flow is tenuous. We can only do so much. If the federal government walks away from its obligations, it is impossible for Kentucky to serve as Washington, D.C.'s emergency bank lender for any significant amount of time. The State Budget Office continues to investigate our options and monitor developments in Washington. In short, we won't have a definite handle on all those options until later this month. Of course, we hope none of this is necessary. And as I said, we understand that a deal may be possible later today. If so, that would mean that our federal representatives will have finally come to their senses and reached an agreement on a budget, albeit much later than that should have happened. It would mean that they finally accomplished what they were elected to do and what we've been paying them to do. Don't get me wrong. I could stand here and give a partisan-based condemnation of what's been going on in Washington over the last few months. And in fact, I'm mad enough and disgusted enough to do so. But I have a much stronger message than simply adding my voice to this acrimonious shouting match. That message is that many families in Kentucky will be devastated if the federal government doesn't get its act together. That isn't speculation, folks. That is tangible, quantifiable fact. What we've seen over the last few weeks in Washington are not the actions of a government attuned to its people. These have been the actions of a privileged few, so divorced from the day-to-day lives of their constituents that the suffering is a political afterthought, something to be managed after the cameras leave. In Kentucky, we put people first and politics second. It's apparent that that doesn't work in Washington, D.C. It is time, it is long past time, that they reorganize their priorities. Anybody have any questions?
Governor, what are your thoughts on how Mitch McConnell has been negotiating the deal so far?
Well, hopefully we will have a deal today. And if we do, I suppose that we should be thankful that after about 3 months of being missing in action, that the senator has surfaced here in the last couple of days and has been participating and is helping to work some deal out. But, you know, when you talk about credit, a firefighter shouldn't be getting credit for helping put out a fire when he helped to start the fire to start with. So I don't think there's any credit to go around if a deal struck today. There's enough blame to go around, and I think the American people will remember where to put that blame.
Have you communicated your frustration directly to any of the congressional delegations?
We have, and we again today sent a letter to all of our congressional delegation laying out the facts that I've given you here today about the effects that a prolonged shutdown would have on the people in this state. You know, I didn't even discuss here today any failure to raise the debt limit. And I think for most Kentuckians, that seems to be sort of a nebulous thing that doesn't mean anything to them. Well, let me tell you, it will personally mean a lot to every Kentuckian. I'll give you one example. If they don't raise the debt limit and we default on our debts as a nation, it's obvious that interest rates will go up on any borrowing that we do. We're just getting ready to borrow millions of dollars to help build the Louisville Bridges project. And if we default on that debt and that interest rate goes up, they will have cost Kentuckians millions of additional dollars in interest on that project alone.
Has any of them responded or to your messages? Or?
I haven't heard anything back, no. Anybody else?
Are you aware of any contract employees who've been, who received their salary through federal funds who've been laid off? Because there was, I think, about 40 in the Office of Employment and Training who were let go because of the shutdown. Are there any?
Anybody know? You mean anybody that's already been laid off?
Yeah.
From state government?
It was 40 in unemployment insurance, and all that we're aware of.
Okay.
That's all one.
That's the ones we know about at this point.
Has the shutdown affected the rollout of the Kentucky Connect at all?
Fortunately, no. And the Medicaid program and the money spent on rolling out the healthcare exchange are not affected by the shutdown. And you know, we've been very successful in the rollout of that and the implementation of that. So far, as of I think about 3 o'clock yesterday, we've had almost 240,000 Kentuckians swarming all over that website, calling on that toll-free number to find out about affordable health care. We have signed up almost 13,000 individuals for new affordable health care coverage, and some over 300 small businesses are in the process of applying to cover their employees. So that's very exciting for us. If you will notice, I think they are, that part of this proposed deal includes an income verification for anyone that would qualify for a subsidy for health insurance in the healthcare exchanges. I'm happy to report to you that Kentucky's exchange already does that, and so that requirement will not affect us at all. Our folks designed that requirement into our website, and so we're up full force. We're going great guns, and we're going to keep going as fast as we can.
How does the number that have signed up compare with your expectations? Were you expecting larger numbers at this point, or?
The response we've received so far has far exceeded our expectations. You know, we've got 640,000 uninsured Kentuckians that don't have any kind of health care coverage. You know, these folks aren't aliens from some distant planet. These folks are our friends and neighbors. They're members of our family. These people we go to school with. We sit in the bleachers on Friday night and watch our kids play ball. We go to church with them. We shop with them. And these are people that are crying out and eager to get affordable health care, and it's obvious from the numbers we're having. Fortunately, our folks did such a fantastic job of designing our website and getting everything set up that we've really had no glitches to speak of, had a few on the first day, and then it's run smoothly, and people are signing up in droves. We are signing people up for affordable health care at the rate of about 1,000 people a day. That far exceeds our expectations.
Excuse me, given the fact that other than the first day, the Connect program has been reported to operate better than the national, there's been all this bad publicity about the national problems. Has the administration been in contact with Kentucky about help in trying to get their own websites operating more smoothly?
Well, to me, it's understandable that the federal website is going to have problems. They're dealing with, what, 35 million people? You know, we're dealing with 640,000 people. And so it's a lot easier to get your arms around a design for a smaller number of people like that. I have no doubt, I'm confident that the federal website will eventually work all its kinks out. We've got 6 months to sign people up, and I think they will get to the point to where it'll be functioning the way it should be functioning. The one great message that comes through, though, is the fact that so many thousands and millions of people are interested in this. They are so interested in it that they're piling into these websites, thousands of people at a time, and causing those kinds of issues on a national level. That tells me that there's a whole lot of people out there that want to try to find out if they can get affordable health insurance. And here in Kentucky, when they get on there and when they look and they see what they can get, they're excited about it because that's what they're finding. Hey, I'm going to be able to either qualify for Medicaid and get free health care coverage, or I'm going to be able to afford that premium there and actually have health care coverage for the first time in my life.
If Congress reaches an agreement on the debt deal either today or before this worst-case scenario on the first, can you speak to any effects that will, like any negative effects that will happen? Like if we don't reach this worst-case scenario, is there already pain, or can you speak to what the effects are currently?
Well, certainly we've already had pain. I gave you two examples. One is, you know, we'd built this new nursing facility in Glasgow for some aged folks with behavioral disabilities. Everybody was ready to move in. All we had to do is go through like a 2-day licensing period with the federal government, but because of the shutdown, we haven't been able to get our license. And so those folks are still stuck in an old rundown facility instead of being in a facility that they deserve in Glasgow, Kentucky. And, you know, there's example after example of those kinds of things going on out there that most people don't see and most people don't hear about. But I can assure you that once these deadlines hit, and if they go past those deadlines and these programs start running out of this money, hundreds of thousands of Kentuckians are going to rise up and say, what in the world is going on, and why can't Washington function like it ought to function? I'm proud to say that there are a few places in the United States of America where democracy still works, and one of them is the Commonwealth of Kentucky. You know, we've got a Republican-controlled Senate, we've got a Democratic-controlled House, I'm a Democratic governor, but after elections are over with, we all remember that we're Kentuckians first and Democrats and Republicans second. And because we do that, we act like adults. We don't act like a bunch of spoiled brats in a food fight in the cafeteria like they've been acting in Washington, D.C. They need to act like adults too, or we ought to quit paying them, and we ought to bring them all home. Thank you.